Hope you're doing well. Welcome to our webinar. You're not alone talking about mental health. Glad you could join us today. Gonna wait for a minute. I'm joined by Dr. Shobha Managoli, co founder and COO of Shloka Deviah Trust. My name is Deviah. I'm the Chief Communication Officer here at SDT. Today, we're opening the door to talk about something very important, talking about how we ask for help, how we start talking about our mental health. This session is about breaking the silence, understanding that it's okay to talk about our struggles, and reminding ourselves that asking for help is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Before we begin the session proper, I'd like to talk a bit about SDT. SDT is a mental health crisis intervention center that has been operational since February of this year, but we've made some massive strides in the short time we've been open. Our mission is to provide effective, accessible, and replicable care crisis intervention services wherever and whenever is needed. We do this through several pathways of care, namely our hotline, through free counseling services for things like stress, depression, anxiety, relationship issues for adolescents, and through training programs for students and educators at schools, as well as through webinars and parenting information like this, as well as through sessions, parenting webinars like the previous one we had, as well as for youth like the one we're hosting today. Today's session is hosted by Ms. Shobha Managoli, like I said, our COO and founder trustee. She's armed with an MPhil in medical and social psychology from NIMHANS. Shobha ma'am is also the head of parenting practices at Parent of Solutions, a psychotherapist, subject matter expert, consultant, trainer, mentor, author. She brings over 35 years of experience to our field. Currently, her focus lies in creating experiences for budding psychologists to improve their skills in understanding, evaluating, and intervening in various sectors. Welcome, Shobha ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Diya, and welcome all of you on a Saturday evening for joining us for a very, very important and critical topic, loneliness. And Diya's introduction mentioned that I'm a clinical psychologist, but I think what many of us, mental health professionals, clinical psychologists, psychiatric, social workers, listen in the sessions, or even if you have ever tried to listen to youth between the age group of around 12 to 24, but even beyond, I feel at times there are some of these voices that time and again come up. And one of them is, most of the time the youth are generally saying that even when I'm with my friends, I feel no one really sees me. There is a sense of invisibility around self, like I am there but actually nobody's acknowledging me. Now, this is something that keeps coming up in sessions when they're dealing. Many times the youth also kind of present to us saying that I do not share anything with my family members or my friends because I'm trying to keep everything inside me because I don't want to burden them. I don't want to kind of put my burden or my stress onto them. Many times they say that when people look at me, they say, "Oh, you're so good. Everything seems to be fine in your life." But actually, deep inside, I'm completely feeling empty. Many times they say that, everyone in this world is happy, but I'm the one who's struggling all the time. This particular one is the most common that we very often hear in our sessions, which is, and in fact, just very strange that just before this session, I had a session and the youth was just telling me that whenever she had a panic attack and she felt breathless and she was feeling, or she was unable to speak or she was restless, the family said, "Stop being so dramatic." So, this is something that they listen. And she says, when that was said, now I've become quiet. I don't even tell. So, there are times when I feel that because of this breathlessness, I don't know what would happen to me. But then, whom do I go and tell? And this then makes them feel very, very non belonging to in any place that they go, in any space that they go, which could be a school, a home, or even for that matter at times online. There are other things that they also share, okay, uh, which basically they say one of the most common things that very often they come up to share is that I tried very hard. I explained to my friend how I felt. I explained to my family members what I was going through. I told them this is what is happening to them. I told them deep inside this is how I'm feeling, and I was joked upon. I was humiliated, or I was made fun upon, and it actually didn't go well. So what do I do now? I just keep things to myself. Many of them say that if I just walk out of a room full of my friends or full of family members, I feel nobody would notice. So, how does it really matter if I'm around or if I'm not around? This one is the most uh, distressing to many, many youth. They say, I know I'm feeling something, I know I'm struggling, I know I am confused, but I really don't know what is wrong with me. And if I don't know what is wrong with me, or if I don't know how to explain what is happening to me, then how can I even share what is happening? Now, these are some of the really, really lived realities of many of the youth who experience loneliness. So let's drive straight into this experience of many, many people. And it has been said that the current age we are facing a pandemic of loneliness, and it is in this loneliness that let's understand what exactly loneliness means. Now, when we start going deeper and deeper into understanding what the youth say about being alone, some of these things stand out very, very strongly. And some of these experiences stand out also very strongly. One of the most important being that there is a strong belief that if I show my emotions, and especially inverted comma, anxiety or panic attack, I would be seen as a weak person. I don't want to be seen as a weak person. Second, most of the time we don't understand that people look at mental health as a stigma. And one of the things is that if I have a mental health issue, or if I acknowledge the presence of any deep feeling or intense feeling, I would be, labeled or told that I am broken, or I personally feel I must be broken to experience something like this. Experiences of being bullied in school, colleges, by friends, by family members is another thing that makes youth want to move away from all social connections. Criticism, especially by family, becomes more intense, at times by teachers or lecturers, also makes them feel very, very aloof, and they want to withdraw. There is also a fear that they would be rejected or they would not fit in. There are a lot of experiences where youth have shared that I have come up to, I went, everybody was had gone to for coffee, I also joined them, but they did not even move a few inches to just make space for me, and the fact was there was space that could be made though so that I could join, and I felt completely rejected. Some of them actually go and say I also felt abandoned. The pressure of meeting the expectations that family has self, or even self-imposed expectations of academics, that I need to do well, and hence I don't need to connect. I know many, especially one particular medical professional says, because I need to do well in the medical, I want to be the best doctor, I will not go for any of the outings that my, but I will sit and finish this chapter. I will sit and finish this concept, or sit and finish this whole um, uh, uh, diagnosis that I want to understand, or this illness that I want to understand. So many of these things make youth start becoming alone. So let's understand a little more in detail, what does it really mean to be alone. Being alone now is no longer just a word, it is a lived reality. It's a reality that's lived by many, many people. And how is this lived reality explained or understood? I think it's very important to understand that the lived reality, if we can break it down into its subsequent pieces, then it would be easier for us to comprehend the intense emotion, the desperation, the distress that the youth experiences, which leads them to take certain steps, or leads them to feel very, very suffering all the time. The f- I looked at lived reality as having these five components. There are incidences or experiences that they hold, which is what they generally share with us in the sessions. They have feelings around it. To each of those incidences or experiences, they develop certain thoughts that come to their mind. From the feelings, the thoughts, and the experiences, there are certain behaviors that are enacted, and all of these put together give them a learning. And it is this learning that becomes like what we call as a script of their life on which they continue to grow. So let's understand this into a little more detail. The first one, some of the incidences which very often come to our sessions, or very often when also through research that we have found that are very distressing to the youth, is first, fight or disagreement with friends. I don't know how many of you have had experiences, but if you have traveled in, if you have taken the local transport, like I'm from Bangalore, if you have taken the local transport like the BMTC buses or anything, you will find if the group of youth have had, there continuously there is an argument, and it doesn't look like a discussion. Fights with friends are very, very common. You said this, I said this, that day you did this, so this day I did this. I told you something you should not be telling others, but you went and told this to that other person. You betrayed me. So, constant experiences where there is a lack of connection, or there's a lack of alignment between the two friends, and hence the friendship looks more like like some relationship where we have certain expectations, but these expectations are not being met. And when the expectations are not being met, then we have an argument which turns into sometimes a major fight that can leave somebody hurt, and not just hurt necessarily in the physical sense, but metaphorically hurt deep inside. Second important thing is the low grades. Very often, when students get less marks, the first thing is they feel humiliated as soon as they see or receive it. They feel all the eyes around them are there. There's also a lot of introspection that happens. Could I have done better? And these are the thoughts that run there the moment they see their low grades. And then the thought of how would the family respond? How would the family? And this whole cycle from seeing the marks, which is very low as per what they are expected, to the reactions of the family, to the reactions of the friends, to the reaction of their own internal churning, all put together creates a whole experience that is very intense in its nature. Parental or even criticism by faculty or teachers. Again, major area that many students or the youth bring to the session saying, this is what they said. They use words like, yeah, this teacher of mine is very toxic. With this teacher, however good you do, I don't think they will ever say we have put in effort. We feel very scared to stand in front of the teacher. It is better to avoid this teacher. Now, these are some of the things that they start doing. With parental criticism, one of the common things is, whether I do or I don't do, whether I am good or bad, they will only criticize, because the only thing they know to do around me is to find faults. Now, this then becomes an experience which leads to certain feelings. And finally, social media exclusion. And I think as a youth, you have more experiences on this than probably I would have. But some of the experiences shared is that not giving likes or commenting on the post that I have put, not including me in certain posts, not tagging me in certain posts, even when I was part of the get together or the connection, not tagging me, not acknowledging me in the post, and many such small behaviors that are not done becomes a stage where the youth starts feeling that I am excluded, not only in this real world, but this exclusion continues to be in the virtual world as well. And it is this combination of these two worlds that I feel I have nobody for myself. Irrespective of these experiences and irrespective of these incidences that happen, each of these incidences and many more such incidences, the list is quite long, and I've just taken some of the most common ones that come or that are experienced or shared, leads to a set of feelings. And these feelings starts from feeling extremely hurt, feeling sad and anxious. But the most strongest feeling in many of them is the sense of rejection. The period of 12 to 24, and especially the youthful, the teenage, and the young adults, is a stage when peers are more important than anybody else, when friends mean more than family. And that's a part of growing up, that's a part of learning to connect to the world outside in a different way. And when the experiences are connected with the same group of peers, A sense of rejection, in fact, going one stage further, a sense of abandonment is what is experienced by the youth. The most important, which we all very often see, is emotional heaviness. What do we really mean by emotional heaviness? The experiences shared is a feeling of heaviness in the chest. The whole body is so heavy. I had one of the youth sharing with me saying, after being rejected from a dance competition where the youth was refused to be part of the group dance, she came back home and she said, I felt so heavy as if I had run a marathon, though I came by cab home. That once I went, crashed onto the bed, till next day morning, I felt I could not move my body because it was so heavy and there was no control. But it was the heaviness of the emotional heaviness that she was experiencing and which made her feel literally immobile. Now, these are real experiences and we cannot at any point of time invalidate them. When you go when you these experiences and these incidences or the feelings come together along with this, these are not let me state at this point of time that these are not in the same sequence that is being presented. Any one of them can happen in any sequence. They're cyclic in nature and it's difficult to see, and just for our understanding I am kind to compartmentalize and break it for a greater understanding. When the incidences and experiences and the feelings are there, the thoughts also start coming. I was rejected from the group dance because probably I was not good enough. I am not a good dancer, though she had won awards for her dance. So I am not enough, I am not sufficient, I am useless are some of the thoughts that immediately start running in the minds. One of the most common things is no one understands me. This is one of the most common things that we very often see, that no one understands me. Then it is better to keep quiet. Now, whenever this incidences and feeling happen, the thought is we ask ourselves from inside, what is it that I really want to do now? And it is where the thought that comes is, what is the use of sharing? What is the use of being with them? What is the use of joining the cohort? What is the use of going out with them? And so what should I do? I should better keep things to myself. So when all these thoughts and the intensities of the feelings start happening, a set of behaviors slowly and subtly start emerging. The first one starts with very small withdrawals from friends and families, typically seen as sitting in the last bench in the school or the college, or when you enter into the college, into the lecture hall or the classroom, finding that one bench which is empty and going and occupying and just looking around, hoping somebody will come and sit next to you, and feeling a sense of relief when nobody comes and sits next to you. So the behavior translates itself from very actively and physically withdrawing oneself from family and friends. Now, in families also, many times making excuses like I have an assignment to complete, I have more work to do, and refusing to attend family functions. One of the most common complaint or a feedback that we can get from parents is that every time we need to go out as a family, there is always some reason to refuse from and he or she never comes with us. So the withdrawal of any social connection slowly and subtly starts building as a behavior. Second thing that behavior happens is that every time the person is out, pretends that everything is fine, including now pretending everything is fine with neighbors, pretending everything is fine with certain people whom they're not confident, say maybe classmates, acquaintances, somebody you just meet in a coffee shop seems, for them it's okay, but they even pretend everything is fine with parents, with very close friends like the BFFs, and with any other people because they feel that if I share, I would not be understood. Or if I share, I would be seen as being weak. And slowly, slowly, this starts getting into spending more and more time online and isolation. So the process of being lonely starts with the incidences. Slowly, a series of thoughts, feelings are churned inside, the intensity of which leads to certain behaviors, and these behaviors slowly and subtly then become total isolation, and then the person experiences a complete state of loneliness. We have seen clients where they have locked themselves in rooms for days together, where the only um, contact or connect they had with the outside world has been only during the meal times, when the family had to force feed them. And these are extreme the things of depression. But on the other hand, we have also seen where the moment they come from school or college, they get into the room and lock it from inside, and the family is unsure, parents are unsure what is happening inside. Avoiding meal times are some of the other behaviors that you time and again see. So this is something that we kind of experience, kind of often see when loneliness slowly starts to raise. So what happens with all that stuff? When all the incidences put together, the feelings, the thoughts, and the behavior, they lead to a certain learning. And what is the learning? The learning here is, if I share, I'll be judged or ignored. This is one of the most common things about which I have spoken already. But the second most and the most difficult to kind of deal or work through is, I should handle things alone. Now, this particular statement comes from a very different point of view, where very often when we enter teenage, the family, the people around us saying, you are now grown up. And the underlying implication or connotation of your grown up means that you can handle all your things on your own. We managed it better. Now statements like this from the elders, statement like this comes, and the youth starts feeling that, I think I should handle things alone. Many times we have had parents who have come up to us and said, I know my child needs your help. I know my child wants to. Please tell us, what can I tell my child to come and see you, because I know my child needs help. But when we talk, he said, hey, this is a or talk to her or him. It's generally said, hey, you know what? This is a temporary phase. I can handle it. Chill. Give me some time. So I should handle things alone seems to become like a mantra that many, many youth follow, because they feel that if they don't follow that, they will be judged for being weak. So this is something that kind of learning that gets into them, goes deep inside them, and from there the loneliness only just increases, it doesn't just decrease. So, as we now go to understand things in a little much more detailed manner, we need to understand that being alone has now become an universal phenomena. And see the paradox that you're not alone in feeling alone. So you're alone, but then there's a whole world outside there where everybody is feeling alone. So the paradox is here that you're not alone in feeling alone, and hence it's so universal that you feel invisible, isolated, disconnected, anxious, overlooked, and completely out of sync of what is happening outside. Now, this is the biggest challenge that the world is today facing. And the underlying reasons for this is, as we spoke before, the feeling that I should handle things on my own, or I will be judged, or a complete lack of trust that anybody or somebody can help me. And that's the crux of what we find going through in our whole thing. So, as we move forward, I think it's important that we ask ourselves the question, why do we really need to seek help? The struggle to seek help is so intense in many people that they do not understand that seeking help can actually be a way of strength. It is very important to understand that human beings are wired for connections. For we are not wired for being alone. So we are wired for connection and not for being alone. If we can understand this basic need, then it will become much more easier that we will be able to go through the struggle ourselves. So the bridge to struggle to strength lies in seeking help. Because when you seek help, the burden, the emotional heaviness that you hold, you actually share it with something. And when you share something like this, you feel better. Why is something like this needs to be understood? I think it's very important that we kind of have a little more discussion and understanding of why there is a need to seek help. One of the things that all of need to understand throughout the human journey of human mankind, seeking help or having connections with each other is one of the core strength. Whether when the man was in a jungle and was dealing with the tragedies or the issues of the nature, he or she was seeking help. Now, in today's world, again, the same thing applies, because we do not have to carry all the burden alone by ourselves. So, the reason you need to seek help is not because you are weak. The reason you need to seek help is because you don't need to carry it all alone. Till now, all of you, and even it's not just youth, many adults beyond 25, 26 also feel I need to manage my things on my own. I would like to bring here a very, very important concept of philosophy that I work towards with my clients and which I very strongly believe in, is the concept of independence, dependence, and interdependence. Most of the time we feel whatever I do, I am independent. So if I ask somebody for something, I become dependent. But as species of nature, and especially as human species, we are never at any point of time independent, and we are never at any point of time dependent. For example, I am doing this um, uh, webinar and you are all listening to me. When I look at the live streaming, I feel I'm all alone here and I'm doing it on my own. But am I really doing it on my own? My co hosts are there. I am dependent on them for them to help me technically, logistically, to see that this goes smoothly. So I am dependent. But am I really dependent on them? Do only I need them? Do they not need me? And from here comes the concept of interdependence. Human beings are interdependent creatures. They are not independent or dependent. And if we can look at everything that we do from the eyes or the lens of interdependence, then you will see that asking for help is a part of that interdependence. Whether I need to travel from one point to another and need to use Uber or Ola or BMTC buses, as much as I am dependent on them to take me from point A to point B, they are dependent on me to use the service for livelihood or also for something that they would like to do. So, our whole life as human beings, we are interdependent. And I urge the youth to look at the thing as not black and white, as being independent or dependent, but seek interdependence in any activities that we do together. So it is at this point of time that we need to understand that when our struggles will stop and we will find strength when we move from feeling independent to wanting to be completely dependent, in terms of if they don't accept me in their group, then I am nobody, to say as much as my friends need me, I need my friends. As much as my family needs me, I need my family. You will find the strength in connection. And it is there when probably seeking help would not be seen as being weak. Secondly, when we seek help, what does it really mean? Seeking help really means that you're first and foremost, when you are asking for some help, if you are sharing some of your deeper emotions, thoughts, your experiences, there is a lightening of the emotional heaviness that you've been carrying all along. Now, the talking that can happen in this process actually starts bringing some amount of clarity to your confusing world. Because The other person may bring in a very different kind of point of view and would say, hey, you know what, that also makes sense to me. And it is that makes sense to me, hey, that's a different way to look at it. And when these statements start working on your working, you start feeling. So one of the ways to deal with the lived reality which about which we spoke earlier is that if you want to overcome the loneliness, we need to change any one of this. So if you are changing the experience by seeking help or talking and sharing about your feeling and change an experience, and we'll talk about what kind of person you need to go through, then your thoughts start changing. And as your thoughts start changing, the feelings and the behaviors will change. And as the feelings and behavior change, your learnings will also change. Now, as this whole process reinvents itself, you start actually developing new skills to deal with the situations. You develop healthier skills. For example, if your stress is academic in nature, maybe a skill of some learning strategy that your uh, friend, your classmate, your acquaintance would tell you, that would actually help you to overcome the anxiety of feeling around your own academic challenges. Next, when you seek help and when you get into a thought that I can seek help because I'm interdependent and I can ask for help as much as I can give help, then you start actually preventing whatever your challenges are at the smallest struggles and don't allow them to become bigger problems for yourself. And it is from this angle, hence, seeking help becomes an act of strength and courage and self respect. Please remember, even in India, even our kings, the Maharajas and the Maharajas had their gurus. Who were these gurus? These were people who actually guided them, who all actually mentored and coached them. So they went with their challenges, they went with their struggles, they went with their confusions to these gurus, and the gurus coached or guided them in the given direction. So even the most powerful leaders, athletes, change makers, celebrities, anybody needs help. So it's just not I on you, it's everyone needs help. And everyone at some point of a time or the other, in some way or the other, seeks help. But can we now make sure that we seek help at the smallest struggle with people around rather than at the biggest problem or challenge, that seeking help itself becomes a struggle onto itself. So now let's also look at what would happen if you do not seek help. I think the two images stand for are self explanatory in their own ways. When we don't seek help, the weight just does not disappear. All the emotions that you are having within you starts getting bottled up. So if you look at the image here, you can see the glass pitcher with the stones. So typically when we ask people about, especially we talk about negative experiences, when you ask them about the lived reality of how do they experience or how do they experience the event or the incidents, many says that it came to me like a thud, it came to me like a rock which hit me strong. So, what happens is that when you have such a powerful metaphorical experience of an incident, then all of that, if you do not seek help, starts getting into the bottle, and the bottle or the container that holds it, as you can see, it starts going inside, and as the numbers increase, as you can see, there are cracks that start appearing in the bottle. And it's just a matter of time when this crack can burst open. And this is exactly what we say, the bottled up emotions when they just blow off. And that's when there is a meltdown, there is a panic attack, there is a rushing to the emergency rooms, there is a feeling of complete I am useless and I don't need to live anymore thoughts that come. But it is a continuous collection, because we have decided not to hold the rock or the stone that we feel was hurled at us, hold it and keep it down, share it with somebody, and then take things forward. Or it could be like a balloon where there are cracks that appear because we are just allowing air to be filled in the form of the experiences. So, what happens is over a period of time, all these small struggles, step by step, turn into bigger mental health problems. As you keep bottling them up, your loneliness starts deepening. And as this process of deepening starts happening, there is a sense of disconnection that starts growing, something that I spoke earlier in the form of withdrawal. It's very important to understand that each, it's like the last straw on the camel's back, which made the camel sit down. But was it really the straw? It was all the baggage that was put on the camel, which the camel didn't, which the camel allowed to put it. It's the same way all the baggage that I allowed myself to carry, all the baggage that I held myself onto, that I did not actually make take any cognizance and just collect it and collect it and collect it over the period of time. Now, the period of time could be weeks to months to years, but it's longer. Each individual has a different potential to hold, but if there is a continuous series of life events, negative incidences, negative experiences, then the cracks will start to appear. Many times the cracks may also appear because of other people avoiding you, because they feel that whenever you come and talk, then you start talking about negative things. What does this all do to our mind and the body and our social relationships? All this put together, all these this cracks actually starts affecting our sleep, the appetite. So either there is oversleeping that happens. So we have seen, I have had clients who have slept 18 hours non-stop, who have slept 15 hours non-stop, who refuse to get up from the bed. So sleep gets, or they're scrolling through the night onto their, they're scrolling through the night and they're actually not sleeping. And then early morning, they go to sleep and then they wake up very late, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And then the whole day is changed and the routine is completely changed. It starts impacting the attention and concentration or the focus that that one needs to have in terms of doing any tasks. Very often they come and tell us that I'm not able to concentrate on anything even for more than 5 minutes. Definitely physical health has a huge impact, from putting on weight to kind of having multiple aches and pains, to having acidity, gastritis, and the list is endless. We can go and on, but one of the key factor is that putting things together can actually impact your physical health. Not just does it impact the physical health, it starts also impacting your social health, and your relationship starts suffering. Very often breakups are something that we very often see that happens during this period. So there is a breakup, so the way they come to me is, I'm feeling sad because there was a breakup that happened between me and my friend or me and my partner. But when you actually dive deep, you see that there's been a series of negative events which was not shared, which was not acknowledged, which was not dealt with. And over a period of time, there was slowly, as I explained before, a sense of withdrawing, a sense of isolation, and it was that isolation that led to the breakup. But when all these things happen, obviously healthier coping skills are not learned, and most importantly, self doubt and negative thoughts start creeping in. So, seeking help, where has its own advantages, not seeking help has much more negative impact on the mind, on the body, and the social relationship. Now, as we go further, what exactly do you think we can do to overcome this loneliness? There is a very simple thing that we are, and this is a perspective and a thought that we need to understand. Having said that, this is a journey from an incidence to a learning, with the feelings, thoughts, and behavior intervened with them. Most of the time, people feel that loneliness is my identity, and the way they say, I am a loner. I am introvert. I am I do not like to meet people. So we kind of connect a phase, or we trying to connect a state that has happened due to external events or internal thoughts and feelings as being a permanent identity of oneself. Like saying, I am an honest person. People say, I am a loner. But the most important thing that each one of us need to identify and acknowledge at this point of time is that you are loneliness is not an identity. It is not an identity that you need to carry, and hence, first and foremost, can we, and if you see the ladder of seeking help, the ladder of growth, the ladder to which you should reach, it's very nice for me or anybody to sit on this chair and say seek help, go out there and talk, but the experiences are otherwise. So, what could be those small steps that you could take in a systematic manner for you to go and seek help? So, let's start with very simple, small things. Let's first and foremost acknowledge to ourselves that loneliness is not my identity. It is a passing phase that can be shifted, which means it is even not weakness, and being lonely is a very, very humane tendency. We spoke about loneliness being a universal phenomena. I typically like to say, if I can name something, I can nail it. If you can name it, you can nail it. So, if you can name the state of withdrawal, of isolation, feeling sad, not wanting to share anything with anybody, wanting to be all by oneself as loneliness, and you could have add your own experiences and your own words to it. And if you can acknowledge that this is loneliness, this is me trying to be alone all by myself, you have, if you have named it, you can always nail it. And nail it here means that you can find ways and means to deal with it. Now, how do we do this? So the first and foremost is start reaching out in small steps. It could be small daily connections that you do with people, could be greeting a neighbor, could be joining a club, could be joining community groups, volunteering, or just saying, seeing a distressed friend and just saying, hey, you don't look good today. Hey, how was your day? Many times people find it very, very funny when you ask, how was your day? And they say, what is there to share? How was your day is a beginner or a icebreaker for you to start sharing what happened. Now, that is the first step to reaching out. So, whether we are talking about how bad the Bangalore traffic could be, or the how boring the class was, or how difficult the exam was, we are in some way making those small simple connection to an another person, and we are reaching out, allowing others to reach out to us, allowing others to share. So if I say, hey, the class was very boring, then the other person, yes, man, cool. I also felt the same way, bro. And then the conversation starts. So reaching out does not literally mean taking huge leap, but it means in these small things that you can do to take off. Now, however, having reached is not sufficient. We need to go a step further, and we need to kind of start taking care of our own self. One of the things that we very strongly share and tell people is to learn the art of self compassion. What does self compassion mean? Is to speak to yourself as if you would speak to a friend or comfort a friend who's in distress. Most of the time, and many of us do not take care of ourselves but rush to help others at the slightest opportunity that's available to us. In the process, we again gain a whole set of experiences that makes us feel very, very uh, negated and invalidated. I give a very simple example of something that was recently shared by me, and was one of the youth who's a medical student. and just completed MBBS and other things, and said that this one friend of mine would reach out for the slightest help that he needed or she needed. My friends would reach out when they needed some help around the medical, whether it was asking me about a medicine, asking me about, I'm having a headache. Can you just tell me what medication? Can you just send me the name of a medication? I'm having a bad headache, or I feel pukish. And I would, whether it was any time of the day, I would find that time and help them. And I always felt if I did it for them today, they would do it for me. But when I had a very bad experience of losing a family member, a close family member, one of my uncle, none of them showed up. Now, experiences like this makes us very lonely, and this youth started getting so the feeling of abandonment, the feeling of being taken for granted, the feeling of being betrayed became so intense that there was a complete neglect of self. So the same person, with the speed with which he went to help others, it was the same speed which became so slow that he stopped helping himself. Hence its importance that we have to understand that negative experiences, whether it comes from others or whether it comes from our own thoughts or whether it comes from incidences or events of life, we need to practice self compassion, which basically means that we need to learn to speak to ourselves the way we would comfort a friend who's in distress. And from there, we come out of it, and then we start on the path. And this could be a way that we could actually help ourselves. From here, we could actually also take care of our body in terms of balanced diet, sleep, exercise, all known to boost mental resilience. So, care for self is not just something that we need to kind of put it on this slide or put it on this ladder, but care for self is one of the most important steps that you can take towards overcoming loneliness. And going out for a walk can actually give you a group of walkers or a marathoners that you could connect to, and hence you always find your community or your club around. And the final one could be friends, because sorry, the final one is to seek help from professionals, which could be in the form of a therapy or a support group, hotlines, or safe spaces where you could speak out. As you remember, the mentioned in the initial, as we said, that at Shloka Deviah Trust we do provide such safe spaces. But to come to this stage, you need to start at the base of the ladder. Is the most important thing is to acknowledge that loneliness is not my identity. It is a passing stage. I can overcome if I do few things. There are certain small steps that I can take, like reaching out, caring for myself. But if that starts feeling overwhelming, if that starts feeling difficult to do, that starts feeling like I have no motivation or willingness to do, then can I take a leap further and seek professional help? We also have to understand that many times reaching out or support may also come from what we call as known or unknown resources. Your support may also come from your teachers, could come from your friends, mentors, neighbors, professionals. It's important to identify our own network because it is the strength and the connection that can be very, very healing. So, being alone need not necessarily be a state that you want to be in. Within you is the power to overcome this stage and to redefine yourself as a person who holds within himself or herself the power to feel the joy of life. There is actually a saying, a Chinese proverb that says that it takes a village to raise a child. If you all are here today and listening to this village was always there for you. But did you identify which house, which path is what you could have taken or you can take today to reach out, to feel part of the community? The village was always there. But now, can I walk towards this village? Can I make use of this village? And what does this village mean to me? If you're a youth, on this, I would like you to define your village. Your village can have your family, your friends, the professionals probably you're meeting, your teachers, your neighbors, your cousins, your nephews and nieces. Many times you learn from each one of them. Your walking, walking friends, your gossip friends. All of us have different huts in the village, and if you can name the hut and who stays in the hut, to whom you can reach out for what, then the village was always there. You need to walk towards the village to overcome this feeling of being lonely, because there is a strength in community, and connecting is healing. So, can we now connect and rewrite the narrative of loneliness? The whole intent of this webinar is to share with you that loneliness is a narrative we have shared. I have one of my very common dialogue that I very often use with my clients, with people I work around, is we are the best storytellers to ourselves. People say, I don't know how to tell a story. But just take a step back and think about all the stories that you have told to yourself, about your relationship with others, about your future, about the world, and have believed in that story. And the narrative has become so strong that it has become a script because it has come from your lived reality. But is that the lived reality? Is that the narrative that I want to continue throughout my life? Is that the narrative that I really want to carry forward? Do I at any point of time take a step back to rewrite this narrative of loneliness that I hold together? So, time for us to rewrite this narrative and figure out how do we do. So, how do we write and how do we go about writing the narrative? The first is start with small steps. As I mentioned earlier, gradually go step by step. We have all heard the story slow and steady wins the race, but today we feel the fast and the furious wins the race. No. In the journey of self compassion, in the journey of healing, in the journey of peace and joy, it's the peace, the slow, and the steady who wins the race. Or it's not about also about winning. We don't have to win anything. We need to allow ourselves, give the authority to ourselves to feel connected, to feel happy, and human beings get their happiness through the connection, and connection is healing. So start with one step at a time, one person at a time, and one challenge at a time, and we'll talk about this shortly. So, can we take a step back and take a oath or a sankalpa to ourselves that together we build connections, together we heal, and together we thrive? Which means that I do not just allow myself to take the step to reach out to people, but I also allow myself to be available and accessible to people who would want to reach out. So it's not just I am weak, so I need help, but also to take the other side of the picture, that I also have the strength to talk and listen to others. So it's a process of interdependence that we build together in this connection, because I need you as much as you need me, and it is this in this needing and in this connection that we can heal and thrive together. So how do you do this? And here I would like to say, to invite each one of you and strongly recommend to each one of you to take this connection challenge. If you are in this webinar, or if you're watching this webinar after it's uploaded, my recommendation to each one of you who's reached this slide is to take this simple challenge. There are a lot of challenges that going around. You have the 21-day challenge, you have the 15-day challenge, you have the 7-day challenge, you have the 1-day challenge, many challenges that are around. But I feel This is one of the challenge that can change the way you live your life. The first thing is to take a paper and a pen and sit down and think of one person in your life who can support you. It could be a friend, it could be a mentor, it could be a family member, it could be a teacher, it could be anybody, but that one person that you feel, what are the characteristics of the person you could look forward for support? The first thing is that whenever you look outside for a person to support you, first you need to trust the person completely. It's not about the degrees, it's not about the competences, it's not about what the person holds, it's not about the person being a gold medalist, it's not about the person having achieved everything in life, but it is about you trusting this person to say that whatever he or she tells me is for my own good. Even at times it may sound a little tough or harsh for me. So you need to trust the person. Second, you need to feel safe in the company of that person so that you get the freedom to share whatever you are sharing. The third characteristic is, which connects to the first, which is the trust, that you need to be able to rely and trust this person, that this person, whatever has been shared with you, will keep it confidential. I recently had one of the youth telling me that I used to share with my elder brother lot of things because I thought he was my go-to person. He was the person who gave me the right advices. He had the good intent. And one day I told him something. I told him very clearly, please do not share this with our parents because I am not ready to deal with this with them, which had something to do with anxiety and panic attacks. Because every time the youth had a panic attack, the word that was used is you're being dramatic. So please hold on, don't tell them these details. Let me figure it out. But I need you to just hold my hand during those phases. And then the brother happily goes. And in the next few hours, it has been shared with the parents who've come back with much more aggressive stance to say, hey, you know what is this drama happening? Now we are also involving your brother. So figuring out, will this person keep confidential? Now these are the three characters most of the youth find it very very difficult to identify, right? Because how do I know about this? And that is the second step, that take that one small step and just connect and just reach out and just share one small challenge. When you do this over a period of time, you will figure out that these three characteristics are working or not working, and you will know how to identify. Because honestly, there is no test in this world that can actually tell you, but it is your own intuitive feeling and your own experiences by which you can identify a person who would do. And hence, many times we say going to a professional may probably the thing, because their job is to listen, and obviously they don't know the other family members or other people for them to go, and they definitely have too much on their plate to kind of go about gossiping or talking about your challenges. But nonetheless, professionals can be used for certain period of time, but you still need to create a support network among yourself where you could feel free to talk about some of your challenges and issues to someone closer to you, because one small step can have a big impact. And it is in this way that the smaller conversation, you can actually rewrite the narrative. You can rewrite your loneliness story, the story that you have sold to yourself. Can you rewrite the story in a manner that you no more are feeling neglected, no more are feeling disconnected, isolated, rejected, but you're feeling aligned, resonating with a thriving community around yourself. So, with this, thank you very much for your listening, and I would look forward to any question and answers that would come from the audience. So, over to my co hosts, and if there are any questions that you would like me to answer, over to you all. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Thank you so much, Shobha ma'am. If there's any questions from anyone, please feel free to drop them in the chat. This has been an invaluable session in rewriting the narrative of loneliness and has been incredibly helpful in learning how to flip those scripts within our heads. So, anyone with any questions, please go ahead. We can wait a couple of more minutes as we We're still open to. Yes, we see one here. Why are professionals so expensive? Let you answer this one.
Yes. Mm, I think we need to define expensive. And Professionals are expensive because there's a lot of investment gone into getting trained. But at this point of time, I would just like to say that at Shloka Deviah Trust, we are not expensive. So we are quite, accessible, and probably we can also say we are quite affordable. Professionals are expensive because there's an investment in learning and dealing with it. Most of the time, people ask, you sit across and just talk or listen, and that's what it is. Let me at this point of time take a minute to say that that's not true. Every session that we walk into, there is a whole set of preparation that's done in the background to decide what needs to be done, from which angle we need to handle, and how do we go about it. So there's a lot of preparation that's done, and hence there is a lot of time and energy that's gone into creating that. And hence, professionals do charge for that. Doctors charge, engineers charge, psychologists, social workers, psychiatrists also charge. Interestingly, in India, there is a range, and hence you need to find out. And I have seen, working across different cohorts, across different mental health professionals, being part of different alumni groups, that irrespective of the charge, the quality of care does not differ significantly. So people, just because somebody is charging less doesn't mean they give lesser or poor quality of services. It's the experience, the qualification, and the competency of the person that matters. And there is a range outside. Unfortunately or fortunately, we like it or we dislike it. That's another reality that we need to acknowledge, because this, as professional, this is also profession, like managers, team leaders, product managers. This is also profession of helping people deal with their inner challenges. Parallelly, there's a lot of investment on self care, self healing, self growth that needs to be done. So I hope that answers the question clearly.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm getting some more questions on the side that aren't in the chat.
Mm.
Someone asks, how would SDT ensure my privacy when they come to us?
Okay, so SDT ensures your privacy from the time you reach out either through our hotline or to the WhatsApp number that's been shared with you, which I can see being shared in the chat that's shared with you. You're allotted a counselor. Now you sign a consent form where every information that you share is kept confidential and stays only and only with the counselor, except for the counselor sharing it with the supervisor to be guided. And the supervisor is also under the consent and oath of not sharing. However, there are three conditions in which we are by law supposed to share. That is, if we find that there is anything that comes out in the session where it suggests that you're going to harm yourself, that suggests that you're going to harm others, or that suggests that you're going to damage property. Under such concern, under such conditions or situations, we are supposed to escalate it to concerned authorities. And in this case, the counselor would share it with the supervisor or the family members, or if it needs to involve. But if these three conditions are not there and you're sharing your any other things that is very deep in terms of the challenges, in terms of your emotions, then the counselors do not share. So even I, as a chief operating officer, has no clue what is getting shared in the session. So that is the level of confidentiality and trust that we have built in our system.
Thank you, ma'am. And one final question that I've gotten, what role can families and friends play in supporting someone when they reach out about loneliness? How can we as a community be there for each other in this moment?
I think that's a really, really, I would say, important question, not from the point that it kind of talks about, the need to connect. And if somebody is thinking, what can I do? You have actually acknowledged and crossed the first hurdle of what can I do otherwise. So if there is the intent and the need to help others, then one of the ways is when somebody is becoming lonely, and if you have seen what I have presented, you need to understand that they are reeling under a sense of heaviness. They are feeling very, very drained and tired. So don't push them, but just nudge, which basically means that just entering into the room and just sitting without talking to them. It could be as simple as doing that. It could be as simple as one message a day saying, hey, you know what, I am here for you, you can reach out. It could be just a good morning and a good evening, just saying, telling the person that I am there for you. And slowly and subtly, so it depends upon the amount of loneliness. Second, many times when people who are very, very lonely, who have allowed themselves to be lonely for a very longer period of time, also in their conversation have a pitch, tone, and volume which is very, very at times can be irritating. So not kind of focusing on that, but focusing on the words that they're saying, so that you can listen to what they're saying, but not necessarily take in the intensity of the tone, pitch, and volume and feel hurt. So that's the second thing. Third thing, which is the most important thing, is to not make any comments about you're being dramatic, you're overreacting, you're overthinking. Hey, this is something that will pass. Hey, chill, bro. Let it go. Why are you so upset about this? So, statements that can invalidate completely their feelings or their experiences is something that you need to avoid. And slowly and subtly, then push them to kind of seek if the intensity of the loneliness is very, very deeper. And I think that's what something that family and friends can do. Especially family can play a very, very important role to acknowledge that in today's world, loneliness is a pandemic. You're eating your food alone as a family, each one is eating at their own time. So making certain changes in meal times, making certain changes in we time, from me time to we time, identifying we time, using the we time more effectively to deal, to share, to care, to talk, to just kind of rant, allowing all that things to happen is something that could help families to kind of not allow the loneliness to creep in. Even having cousins get togethers very often, outings very often as a family. Some now we are having the, we are having a celebration Navratri going on. We festive celebrations, it could be different festive celebrations. India has a lot of opportunities for that. But ensuring that whenever there is a festivity, ensuring that you're calling from your support network, you are inviting everybody and you're making a little extra effort to invite the person who is withdrawing. So not pushing, but nudging and slowly pulling, or slowly bringing the person out to be and connecting to your world would what help the person who's kind of struggling with. And finally, identifying a set of resources which are very, very important in terms of referring out. SDT is one, but there are many other resources that are available. Telemanas is there, and giving those resources to say, hey, you know what? I understand today you may not want to tell me something, but this is a place where you probably can do. In fact, we have had such very wonderful experiences in SDT itself in the shortest time that we have had. That we have had youth referring who had come to us for therapy, referring another youth saying, hey, you know what? I think this is a safe space for you to talk. You can go. So when you have some similar experiences, sharing it with your colleagues or your peers would help them also to kind of taking, because the biggest barrier to seeking help is the lack of trust. Why should I say something to a stranger? And the best way to break a barrier of that is to have to share your experience, to saying, hey, it helped me, you may want to try it. So I think that is some of the few things that you can do to help any person who's struggling either with anxiety, depression, loneliness, relationship issues, that you can help them. Yeah, thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. I think that will be our last question for the evening, and then we can wrap it up. Um, yeah, I think that's a very important place to understand. For us to realize that if it's not something that we can do, there is always someone else who can help, and knowing where we can get help is the most important thing. But to wrap up, I'd like to leave you with this reminder that we're not alone. Reaching out for help is the brave step. And conversations like the one we've had today is proof that we're all learning and here to support each other for the better. I'd like to thank Ma'am, Shobha Ma'am, for such invaluable tools in helping us flip this script. And I'd like to thank my co host Ria, who's been in the chat behind the keyboard, as well as to everyone who came out tonight and will be watching this in the future. Together, we're building a culture where it's okay to say, I need help, and to be met with compassion. With that, I'd like to say goodnight to everyone and have a good evening ahead. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And